Welcome to your next step up the self-publishing mountain.
I'm Matilda Swift, author of quintessentially British cozy mysteries.
And I'm Samantha Cummings, author of young adult books about magic, myths and monsters.
I've written the books,
Changed their covers,
tweaked their blurbs,
tried tools from a dozen ads courses.
and I'm still not seeing success.
Now, we're working together to plot and plan our way from barely making ends meet to pulling in a living wage.
Join us on our journey where we'll be mastering the pen to snag that paycheck.
Hello and welcome to Pen to Paycheck Authors Podcast. I'm Samantha Cummings, here with my co-host Matilda Swift, and we're here to write our way to financial success. We're two indie authors with over a dozen books between us and still a long way to go towards the quit the day job dream. If that sounds familiar, listen along for our mastery through missteps journey. Each week we cover a topic to help along the way, and this week's topic is going to be continuation equation. But before that, let's do our wins and whinges of the week. Still makes me laugh. Would you like to start with your wins and whinges?
Every week I'm just going to go win. I don't know why. I don't want to whinge.
Okay.
I'm sure I will at some point, but I'm just all wins. So I'm going to pick yesterday. So yesterday we had our monthly mastermind meeting, and it's like 5 solid hours of talking where it feels like it goes in a minute, but also it's exhausting. So we talk about everything and kind of look at stats and look at things that don't make sense to us and try and get some other perspectives on it. We talk about like big picture stuff and small tiny things we've tried, and it just feels like having a colleague, which is just fantastic in a business that's so isolating's not the word, but it's like you can feel very isolated at times, and it can feel like you can't confide in people. I think that's it. So I think you can get a lot of support, but you can't necessarily confide in people, and that's what our mastermind day gives me, and it just is such a breath of fresh air every month. So that's my win of the week, even though you were also there, so I'm stealing it, but I'm going for it.
Amazing. I would say that's my win of the week as well. Yeah, I do feel like we talk about literally as much as we can squeeze into 5 hours. And there was not a single moment where we're not talking. When I met up with my boyfriend afterwards and we were going home, and he did comment on the fact that I sounded quite hoarse. He was like, "Have you been talking a lot?" I was like, "We never stopped."
Yeah. I wonder if there's a limit. Like if we had like a whole weekend of it, would we run out of things to say? I think so.
I don't think so. We could talk forever. And it does feel good. It's kind of like a writing therapy session. Because because we do confide in each other about a lot of stuff that we wouldn't say to other writers. Because you just don't know. You just don't have that relationship. Well, I don't have that relationship with other people. It just feels so comforting to know that there's nothing wrong that I can say. There's nothing embarrassing to admit. It's just the best thing in the world. And I think that everybody who writes should have at least one person that they feel like they can just ask anything of and say anything to within reason.
Yeah, I've been thinking about this, and I think we talked about having a session on our podcast about how you have a mastermind partner, and I was trying to think how would I, if we're going to do it again, go about finding somebody to have a mastermind partnership with. And I think it is really hard to find the right person, because I think that is the key, that you want to find someone you can confide in. It isn't about, or at least for me, and that might match with personality type as well. It's for me, that's what I'm missing from other groups. I've got plenty of friends that I can get ideas from, and I've got plenty of resource I can find online, but I don't have enough people that I can confidently say, I don't know what I'm doing. Does this look right? And often after I ask you something like that, I will then go and ask other slightly more experienced writers as well, just to get kind of different feedback. But I never feel confident enough to make them the first person I ask.
Yeah.
And so it's really nice just to have someone that I feel comfortable being able to say, what am I looking at? This looks crazy to you too, right? So it's really good. So absolute highlight of the week.
Yes.
And yes, it's very nice to also be able to do the podcast with you. So we'll get on to today's topic, which is continuation equation, which was a genius title of yours. So we're going to start with you and tell us, what is a continuation equation and how does it relate to self-publishing?
So for me, when I came up with this amazing title, which is just overly complicated just to sound fancy. Continuation equation is just making sure that you have got constantly got things built into your processes, which means that nothing gets left behind and everything is always in forward motion at the same time. So for me personally, I know like once I've published a book, I'm the bad person that's like, well, that's done, on to the next thing. And then I forget to ever talk about that book ever again. Because it's just so drilled into you that once you've written a book, start writing the next book immediately. Don't stop. Don't take a break. Which obviously is terrible advice and not something that I would ever tell anybody else. But
that is like everywhere, right? That's like nothing sells a book like the next book. And it's like,
yes,
sort of, but also if the next book is book like 7 in a series, how is that possibly gonna... That's not the best marketing advice for selling your entire series.
no, exactly. So the continuation equation is just having that in the back of your mind that once you've like released a book, don't forget about it. Keep it in your plan to constantly talk about it. You still have to try and sell it, even though you've published it. And as you continue to build a backlist, you can't just rely on readers finding that backlist without you ever talking about it ever again. But it's also things like that, in my mind, the continuation equation is also about future-proofing your work. So once you have finished writing a book, you know what the next steps are to get back into doing other stuff. So you finish writing something, so you start editing it. Once you've edited it, it goes like proofreads and all the different edits. So that's like a process that everybody already knows. But once you've published something and you're doing the ads for it, if you're not used to like jumping right straight into another project and you don't have those processes built in, you can stall. And I think sometimes that kills people's creativity. So for me, with like self-publishing, I'm just at the moment, like for the last few months, I have been really trying to figure out what my processes are so that I can look back onto like my list of, well, once you've done this, you do this and you do this. Just to feels like it's more robust. Like I'm not going to fall between any gaps because I know how my business works.
Mm-hmm.
Does that sound like what you think it is?
I think you covered kind of like everything within that. So I think that's a really good comprehensive look at things, because I do think it's interesting in that I think I'm now about 5 years into self-publishing, and like obviously there's been fits and starts with that. So the start of it was like, I'm gonna go for it. I know exactly what I'm doing, and I got great advice at the beginning, and then I got maybe 6 months in, maybe even less. Yeah, I think about 6 months, and then a pandemic hit, and it hit where I lived the hardest, and I moved internationally, and I have an autoimmune condition, so it was very tricky for me to be out and about in the world. It felt very intense for me, and I had just lived through protests in Hong Kong, so it was an incredibly turbulent time for me. So it feels like 5 years in which I've constantly been battling status quo. Like I've been trying to find some status quo, and it has not come easily. So I think and then I bought a house. So it's like everything has changed in my life in every possible way. It has been hard in a way that I think I have not been generous enough to myself about accepting. It's been hard to try and find some of that like continuation, which I think now I'm trying to get it and I'm trying to work towards it. I can really see the benefit of, and I can really see where I will start to build it. So I think this is a great topic to talk about, and it's a great thing to think about once you've got a few books out. I definitely found like when I was starting self-publishing, I felt like I had to have things right from the beginning, and like I had to set things up as I wanted to go on. There's a lot of that of just like thinking about, or there's a lot of people talking about, should you rapidly release? The argument against it is you don't want to set up a process that you can't continue. You don't want to make a promise you can't continue, but then also rapid release is the best thing you could possibly do. So it's like, I can't do both those things. I can't rapid release and not rapid release. But there's this sense of like, you want to set up the way that you're going to continue. You want to start very professionally. And there's an argument definitely to say that is true, but also you don't know what works for you. You don't know what works for you in a writing sense or a publishing sense. And we were talking yesterday about like different kind of publishing broad scale tactics, and you just don't know what those are when you're starting out. You can't see them even. You listen to what you hear in podcasts and on forums and things, and often there's a few loud voices that make it very strong arguments that you have to do it a certain way. And that's not the only way. There are people who are quieter who are doing it a different way, but by nature they're not saying as much because they are quieter and they're choosing a quieter path. So I think it takes you quite a long time to figure out what everyone else is doing, what the options are, what works, what doesn't work. You have to try everything, right? So it's like you have to have at least tried Facebook ads. You don't have to, but like you want to try everything: Facebook ads, Amazon ads, BookBub, like every single thing, just to see how does it work, what works for me. And sometimes I think there's too much pressure on getting your continuous process up front, and feeling like you have to invest both like time and energy and money in the correct, quote unquote, correct way of doing it. And so I'm really glad that I haven't got a process, that I have been able to really organically find it. But now I definitely feel like I absolutely do need a process. I don't have it. And part of that is I'm still sort of working towards getting that status quo where I can really find it. I've definitely got my writing process down, which actually we're going to talk about in the upcoming podcast. But I don't have it for marketing and sort of publishing in general. But I am really working towards it. So yeah, I'll talk a bit about that in a minute. Do you want to talk first about maybe what aspects you've got in place already for continuation equation?
Yeah, so I don't have any in place. Like I said,
good place to know you're at.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I know where I'm at, and so like you say, what you don't know what processes you're supposed to have until you're already knee deep in it. And I do think that's sometimes, or that's the best way to learn for me, is just to do stuff and figure it out along the way. I'm not the sort of person who tries to get things right immediately. I just like wade in and say like, oh, let's see how this works. And we've still both come to the same part where we realize, well, I need better processes. So I definitely am the sort of person who has, once they've published a book, it just gets shoved to the back of like my brain, because I'm always on to the next one, which is great because that means that I have got good processes set up to always be working on something, and that's one of my strengths. But I say when we've been talking about advertisings and having those sorts of things in place and looking at our books as products, I did draw myself up a social plan just to remind myself that being on socials and doing adverts and things aren't just things to do as and when I feel like it. It's something that I should be doing consistently. So in my social plan, I do have now a little reminder on particular days to talk about a backlog or a backlist book. So I feel good about that, because even though I have not yet done that, and I'm just talking about future books and like current books and future books, the fact that I've written it down now means that that's in play in my mind, because that's how my brain works. If I write it down, it makes it real. So I've written it down. It's going to be real. Starting this week, I'm going to start putting backlist books into my social plan. I'm also going back to my Facebook ads, because I paused them for a while. I was doing an ad campaign to get people to sign up and follow my Facebook page, and that went really well, and I basically doubled my Facebook followers. But it went really well, and I paused it because I thought, well, this was just kind of to show Facebook that I'm a good business person, and I'm putting money into the machine and I'm getting results from it. So the next stage in my ads on Facebook is going to be doing continuous adverts for getting people to buy books. So I'm going to be running campaigns that are going to be ongoing. So I will never be taking a break from them. That's just going to be built into my process, that there's always going to be at least one live Facebook ad that I'll be monitoring and changing and updating as and when the data comes in. So I feel like my manager's hat that I'm wearing is feeling more comfortable these days, which is nice, because usually I'm just like kicking my manager out of the room. But yeah, I feel much more like, just thinking about these things makes me feel like a more accomplished publisher and not just a writer with a dream. So that's where I'm at right now. Would you like to take it away.
Yeah. So I'm trying to think where I'm up to. I think I definitely feel like the BookBub has really kicked me into gear into thinking that I can have an effect, that I can have an impact. It's definitely, I've done a lot of trying different things that have sort of, I've managed to break even on a few things, but like then it kind of dies away quite quickly, and you're like, it's very hard to foresee how you could do anything ongoing with that. Whereas the BookBub, that it was just over a month ago today that the BookBub email went out, and oh, sorry, I've got a bit of a cough moment. So it went out a month ago, and I've had some of the highest page reads days since that went out, like in the last couple of days. So it has really, really had ongoing effects. Looking at the rank effects, I had very deliberately done some Facebook ads beforehand, and I did some other promo before, because the book that I had the BookBub on was a box set that I just never pushed, because I didn't really know what to do with it, because my main audience is my newsletter audience, and they had already bought the books one by one when they came out. So when I released the box set, some people bought it who hadn't got all three, but obviously most people have got at least one of the books, if they wanted to, from the series. So I never really did anything with it. And when I released it, I only think had one book following it, so it wasn't necessarily worth doing a big promo on it, because I wouldn't make a huge amount of money back after it. However, now there are 3 books in the series after it. It's long, it's got good page reads, so seeing the very, very long tail of the BookBub, some of which has gone spiking in rank, so I can see days when I think Amazon has pushed it organically. I can see the effect of organic reach, basically, and it finally feels like the continuation is something I can see. I can see how I could be in a machine, which sounds horrible, but actually feels positive, more positive than I run this short campaign and it had this impact and then it's done. I can't think of 1,000 campaigns a year. I can't plan 1,000 and monitor 1,000 campaigns a year. But what I can do is a few ongoing things with different impacts. So it's now finally reached the stage where it has started dropping in rank in quite a consistent way. And it's still much, much higher than it was. And it's still much higher than, in fact, most of my other books. So it's still doing really, really, really well, considering I'm doing absolutely nothing to it. So I have decided I'm going to start doing some Amazon ads. I'm hoping that's a good thing to do, because Amazon has got now a month's history of people buying and borrowing the book, who are not necessarily just polluted by the BookBub people on the same day. So hopefully there'll be people that they've been pushing it to, they know who it works with, and I can get some Amazon ads to work. So I'm currently reading through, I'll leave a note in the show notes on this, the Ricardo Fayette book that's about Amazon ads. I can't remember what the name of it is, but it's very, very clear. And everyone who I was looking at the time when I was looking at kind of resource on it seemed to swear by it. So they were like, just follow the Ricardo Fayette book. So I'm doing that. Very nice and clear. Gives you a section in it, like halfway through the book, I think, where it's just like your first 5 campaigns, which I love when someone does that. And they're like, here's a load of back details, information, background knowledge, but also just do these 3 things and get started, and then you can go and apply all the stuff later. So that is very appreciated. So I'm going to get started on that. I was going to start it yesterday, but instead what I did was I made teacups out of biscuits, which I think is equally useful. That is, I'm trying to do things to promote my new series, or build up kind of videos and activities to promote my new series when it comes out. So I had that on my list of things I wanted to do, and I'm trying to do fun things. So I had run out of energy at the end of yesterday to read the rest of the Amazon book. But I did read some in the night last night when I woke up in the middle of the night, stressed about some work things. I was like, okay, put me back to bed again, put me back to sleep, is reading about Amazon ads. But actually, the book was very readable, so I did not fall back asleep for a couple of hours. So I made some good progress with the book. I will be starting an Amazon ad soon. And I'm really hoping that I can have an ongoing ad. And that is definitely something I have struggled with, is finding ads.
Yeah.
Or finding the will to live with ads. Just find the desire to keep putting consistent effort in. I've definitely had times where I'm like, okay, I'm going to learn this and at least learn how to break even. And then I'll be like, oh, okay, that was a lot of work and I'm just breaking even. It's annoying. And I've got other things I need to be doing. But I think I can now, I'm at a stage where I think it'll be worthwhile me putting in the effort to do it. So hopefully that would be good. I definitely don't have anything that is going to be a continuation. In terms of like, I will start X and then start Y 3 months later and then start Z 3 months after that. Like, there's nothing currently in plans like that. I think there's still so many things that I am trying. But I have got a list of things that I still want to try. So I still want to try BookBub ads to impact my also boughts. I'm trying Amazon ads, and obviously I have tried Amazon ads before, but like very much, I think when I had the first couple of books out, I tried one of those enormous keywords campaigns. We just like, I will just guess a bunch of keywords and put in some bids and I don't know what's going to happen, which just felt really demoralizing. And now I know much, much more. And I understand enough now to actually like, okay, I see why that was stupid. Okay, now I'll go and do them properly. Which is fine. Like, and that's the process you need to go through. You cannot possibly, I think you could do a degree in self-publishing before you start self-publishing and then you'll be able to hit the ground running, but really
100%.
without that you have to do the degree as an apprenticeship, just by like trying stuff and then not knowing what you don't know. So I think I'm now like in the third year of my degree. Like, I think I know enough to be like, okay, I was such a foolish child when I was in my first year, now I'm so wise. But then I guess I'll get to the end of this and be like, I need to do some postgraduate studies. I think I know, but I don't know. But yes, I think I've now got enough things where I'm going to start trying to overlap stuff. So I guess that's where I'm at. Is I've got the book club, and there are still sales and reads coming in from that. So I've still had several sales since the featured deal ended at $9.99 for this book, which I think is sort of unbelievable that people are just seeing this book that has been out for a couple of years. They're seeing it the first time and they're like, yeah, I'll spend a tenner on someone, just take a pop on that. And it's got 40 extra reviews or ratings, not reviews, but I've got 40 extra ratings. Still, like, people are still buying and borrowing it because the rank is still going up and down and it's still fluctuating. So I think if I can now overlap that and like feed on that to then take an Amazon ad to work, that is at least me starting to keep the machine moving rather than try one thing and then step back and be like, oh, now what? So I don't feel like I've got continuation. I don't think I've got a continuation equation, but I think I've got some continuation, which is where I'm at and where it feels good moving from there. How do you think? Yeah. Have you got any thoughts on that? Otherwise, I've got another question.
No, I think that's a really good idea to have, like, to be trying to build some sort of continuation from like the data that's already accumulated from that BookBub, and like an Amazon. I think that's a great process. Like, you couldn't have asked for something better, really. For like I think the results that you've got from that is so exciting, and it's just really nice to see. And building on that is like a fantastic like place to be. So Anna, you say like you don't really have an equation, but that in itself is an equation. It's a good plan.
Yeah, I think the issue is like,
what
it's
is
not
your other
applicable.
question?
So I think I can't. It doesn't feel like it's a process I can say, okay, so what I'll do is I'll get a BookBub every 3 months, and then from that I'll do this. Though I do know, you and I are in a authors group where someone posted recently about just their consistent applications leaves them getting BookBub approximately once a quarter, and that's definitely. I have been spurred on to do more applications. Obviously, just rejected. Go back to back to the normal. But I won't be rejected, forever. I will keep applying, and I'll keep applying with the weirdest book possible. I'll be like, what do I think they're least likely to take? Bingo, they'll take that one.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm going to keep going. But I think it's not something I don't feel like I don't think I own my equation yet. So yes, my other question was, I guess, what's the next steps to get towards having an equation for you?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think that just consistency for me is the biggest key. I definitely feel like I flounder a lot. And I'll just like talk about social media because that's generally what I've used the most to try and like get in touch with readers, because I'm still very much a baby when it comes to like things like BookBub and Book Funnel and like Amazon ads. Like I'm not at that stage yet, but I really like using social media. So for me, it seems like a fun experiment to do. The only problem that I have is that I often feel like I'm talking to myself, but then at the same time, I don't really mind talking to myself. So I think I just need to switch my mindset of saying like, I don't care if I am talking to myself, just keep talking, because I know that consistency is key on social media, and my TikTok has been doing so much better than my Instagram. So I'm happy to keep plugging into Instagram because I like the community that I'm in there. I like seeing all the other authors, and I like to see what people are reading because I'm part of the readers side of it, which is really nice. But TikTok is definitely where I get the most interaction and the most views. So I really want to try and keep the ball rolling with that, because when I first started that, it was only at the start of this year, and I decided I was going to post every day for a month and see what happened. And I gained 1,000 followers within the first month to 6 weeks because I was just constantly on it, talking to people, posting things, getting involved in conversation. And then I stopped because I thought, well, that was a lot of effort. And I went back to Instagram where I get no traction whatsoever, and then felt bad that I'd given up on TikTok. So I'm going to once again try and just be more consistent on TikTok, because that is where we know the readers are. Like that is a huge reading community over there. And I mean, if you even look on Amazon looking for books and things, one of the things that you'll see at the moment on book titles is TikTok sensation or TikTok made me buy it. And that never came out of Instagram. Nothing like that came from Instagram. It's only TikTok that I see that TikTok made me buy it. And so
I mean, you have that on tables
I
of
want to
Waterstones,
really...
like the front table of Waterstones now. TikTok maybe buy it tables.
At first, when that first started happening, I was really hesitant to like it because I wanted to be protective of the integrity of book selling and book buying and reading, and like it was so stupid. And now when I see that, I am kind of just excited that there are so many readers. Like TikTok is such a readers community, and like when I was younger, that would have made my day to have found people who like reading the same books that I read. But I didn't have that when I was growing up, and so I'm trying to look at it with like this like excitement that they use it, like the way they use TikTok and so excited talking about books. I really want to like try and get myself involved in that, and
I think
see
there's
if I
like
can
a
build a
capriciousness
continuous thing.
Oh, so I was going to say, I think there's like a capriciousness of social media that can feel a little bit not dangerous, but a little bit uncertain. So it's hard to kind of feel like, again, it's hard to feel like you can build a strategy around it, because there's a sense that it might just disappear tomorrow, or you might go viral in a bad way. So I think it can feel like it's tough to build an equation around it, or a process around it. But like, why not? I think if you're at this stage of career, like I'm definitely trying to think, if my books are not my livelihood, I want to make decisions based around that freedom. Which I couldn't do if I had to pay my mortgage for my books. I could not say, I'm going to just chance it on TikTok for a while and like really push it, or I'm going to like take my bonus this month and put it into ads that might never make money back. Like, you get to be a bit more of a chancer, and through that you'll learn things that you will use later when you need to be more consistent, but you don't need to be consistent now. So why not enjoy that?
Yeah, I do think that there is a lot of freedom in the fact that I have got a full-time job. And I know that the goal is to quit the full-time job and write for a living, but until then, it's nice to have the fallback and know that what I'm doing is there's no stress of having to pay my mortgage from my books. I'm going to use that feeling for as long as possible.
I don't know how Americans ever become full-time authors, because just like I can't imagine not having free healthcare, having to pay to stay alive. I would never write like for that. I take medication that's incredibly expensive. If I had to write to earn that, I would feel petrified all the time. And I just get it for free. Like they literally deliver it to my house for free. Like here's the medicine that allows your hands to move so you can write. But it's free, no strings. And I think again that's a freedom that we get in the UK, that you can say, you know what, my overheads are pretty low. I could quit my job.
Yeah.
And and not need much money, and again take a chance. And part of it is like I don't have any kids. I think I am not taking advantage of as much advantage as I could do of the freedoms that I do have. So maybe at the moment I kind of want to deliberately not fix my equation and just test out different parts of it and how they interact. And I think I'm still at that stage where I want to see what happens if you follow a book club on an old book with an Amazon ads to try and revive it. Because actually I think Amazon ads are quite hard to use to revive an old series if you're coming with no data, because Amazon knows this book hasn't been selling, I'm not going to push this. Whereas if you're coming with then over a month of positive sales data, does that move the needle more? And I want to see that. So I want to see how those two pieces interact. I think I do need to start building up more elements of the equation deliberately. I think we were talking about this yesterday, actually. I think part of not having those kind of stresses on your livelihood can make you feel a bit too comfortable. Like, I don't need a lot of money. I have a job, so I don't need to make my income from writing. So sort of the converse of what we were saying earlier is I'm not pushing myself. Nothing is pushing me. And like in a way that's very nice. It feels stressful if you had to like lose your job and you had to make money from writing, but also that is effective. So I think I don't know. I want my cake and I want to eat it at the same time. I would like I would like to both have a very comfortable, happy existence, but act as if I don't. Or at least take lessons from those who don't.
Yeah, I think that's a crazy mindset thing, isn't it? Because you always hear so many stories about people who have overcome hardships, like they lost their job and they didn't have any other option but to make money doing this. And I would hate to be in that situation, but that they had a fire under them that I can't replicate. And as much as I want it and as desperately as it is my dream to write for a living, the only driving force is me, and I am flawed and easily distracted, and I have to light my own fire. And in a way that is a negative. It's a positive because I am so grateful to be where I am, but it's a negative in that I'm not desperately needing to make money from this. But that might be a conversation for another day.
I mean, I think it's a conversation for like it's the underpinning to all the conversations we're having is like how do we both push ourselves but not kill ourselves unnecessarily, and what's the right balance to that? And I think just reminding ourselves of where we could be pushing ourselves a bit more. So I think we could push ourselves a bit more in terms of continuous marketing, and marketing in a professional way, rather than be like, I'm just going to try this thing, and then a few months later be like, oh, I forgot about that thing I tried. Should I try maybe this? Yeah, I think just taking a more professional sense to it and trying to get ourselves set up so that, imagine if your job did fire you tomorrow, would you have enough things in place to know, like, okay, you know what, I don't have to find another job, I'm going to give my writing a go for a year, I'm going to try this, rather than saying I'm going to have to find a new job straight away. So I think act as if you're going to be fired, not that you have been fired, and try and make that work. Yeah, I've definitely there's things that I want to work harder at, there's things that I want to not keep letting myself push and push and push. And I think I think that will come up. We've got our Q2 review coming soon, and I think that will be a good chance for me to like take a long, hard look in the mirror and say, you've mentioned this many times that you're going to do it. Have you actually done it? No. Why not? Then get on it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just looked at my Q2 list of things to do, and yeah, I've got some shortfalls here.
I mean, you've got, a month left. That's fine.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah, I think also my Q2 list is wildly ambitious. Mine I think contained something like 10 quite large things to do, and I think I made mine halfway through Q2 as well. And I've done very few of them. So it's like I've done very. I've definitely started on most of them. I just haven't seen them through because again, it's not my livelihood. So if I'm really busy, like it's a busy time for me at work right now, I'm going to be working after this. I've been working all day and we're recording a podcast and now I'm going to go back to work after this. I'm not then going to finish the Amazon's book. I'm going to go to sleep because I will be tired. So it's like, it is, I don't know. Yeah. Mindset stuff. Trying to be generous to yourself, but also push yourself in the right measure.
Yeah.
But I think Q2
I actually
will be a good chance to say like, go on.
I was just going to say, I actually really like when you referenced or like likened it to like if there was a self-publishing university, if there was a degree. I often think to myself, if I was doing this as a project, as a degree, with set goals that were set by somebody else, I would work differently. Yeah.
I would too. I'm like a real like straight A student. Not, I'm not doing the work before it needs to be done, but I am always getting it done to the grade you need to get an A. But I don't do that in my self-publishing. Maybe we need to think about that and like think about because I think we do often also think very short term rather than saying these are the modules we're going to do this year for the degree, the imaginary degree we're doing, and these are the pieces of work you need to turn in. I think that would help me actually. So maybe in the Q2 review we could think about some long-term goals because it is really hard trying to set yourself lots of different short-term projects that you can't really see how you're going to find time for. You don't have to think about it reasonably in terms of time and space, capacity. Yeah, I think I'm ready for it. And that'd be a great chat for us to have.
Yeah, me too. Oh, I'm looking forward to that. So let's wrap this up. For next week's topic, we are taking an episode out between series to do a standalone on our writing processes. Do you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, so I think we picked this episode because it comes up a lot. So we reference it a lot. And I think we've both had kind of process changes and thought about our processes and how we do them, how we do our writing has developed over the years. And I think it's always helpful to hear that about someone else and to enable you to reflect on how you're doing things and maybe places where you could tweak your own writing processes. So I'm really interested just to articulate mine because I think it is good to pick yourself up on places where you might have started to slack, which I already know, thinking about straight away. I know what it is. And B, to hear yours, because I'm also very nosy about writing processes. And then C, I hope it is really useful to other people to hear, to kind of tickle their brains of like new ideas. How about you?
Yes. Yeah, same. I'm really nosy. I love hearing how other people do it. I also just kind of want to look at my own, like be self-reflective, because I definitely don't think of my processes when I'm doing them. And it's only like when I stop and think back, like how I used to do things and how I want to do things, that I see the jumble that is my life. So I'm really looking forward to talking about it and hopefully straightening myself out.
Fantastic. All right. I have got a cat trying to get into my lap, so this is a good time for us to end it. I will look forward to speaking about that, and I will say goodbye for now.
Goodbye.
You've been listening to Pen to Paycheck Authors.
Stay tuned for our next episode, And don't forget to subscribe to learn how to write your way to financial success.